going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Viall Files. I am your host, Nick, and joined by, Ellie. Oh, Ellie is working on something else. Amanda's in studio at the moment. How you doing, Amanda?
Very well, thank you. How are you? How was your birthday?
Birthday was great. Yeah, no complaints. New York was wonderful. How are you?
Good. You met my friend in New York.
I did. Yeah, Natalie got like this. She really went all out, and one part of the birthday was this boat we went to, and it was really cool on the pier, and we went with some friends and had some drinks, and she introduced herself.
Yeah, my best friend from college, and she said,
your best friend?
She said it. Yeah, she's my best friend from college. Like, lived together, the whole shebang. What am I trying to say? Whole shebang. And she said it was kind of awkward when she met you, and that she was like, "Fuck, I shouldn't have done that."
Why? I don't understand. Listen, it's an awkward thing to do. So she thought it was awkward, or I was awkward?
She thought it was awkward. She wasn't insulting you in any way, shape, or form, but she was like, I felt like I was bugging him.
No, not at all. I mean, it's always like, it's a weird thing. And she was very nice, and I was like, "Oh, hi." And I was like, "Oh, you're Amanda. Great." And like, I think I said, "Love working with Amanda," something like that. And then she was like, "Okay." And then people will do this kind of like, I don't know if I should end it or not. And then then I give them the out. It's like, "Oh, it was really, thanks for saying hi." And
oh, okay.
Like, okay.
So you thought you didn't want her to feel awkward, so you just kept it short and sweet.
Yeah, but also like I was in fairness, to be totally
you were
candid,
with your friends.
I wasn't trying to like invite her to sit with us.
Yeah, and she was working.
She was working too.
She was working.
But she also didn't give me the impression that she was like trying to linger either. It's always, listen, it's an awkward thing to do.
Do you feel like, what's the best ever like intro, or like someone walking up to you, like a stranger walking up to you? What's the most successful or like best one that's happened?
Just come with a clear intention. We were in Brooklyn, Ellie and I, and I don't know his name, but the actor, he's in a lot of movies. He's Jepsen, I think, from the movie The Holiday. He's the quote unquote bad guy in A Knight's Tale. The British actor, Jasper in The Holiday. It's the guy that Kate Winslet hangs out. Anyway, I saw him. I'm like, "Oh, I know that guy." And he walked past me. I said, "Love your work." He said, "Oh, thanks." And that was it. You know, like I just wanted him to know that I was a fan. So it's just more, it's like you definitely need an out, you know?
Totally.
Like,
Do you like it when people pretend, like start talking to you in a way that doesn't acknowledge that you're like, that they know you from somewhere?
Well, that's the worst. It's how do I know you? And I know they know, or they'll be like, I don't know. But I do want to say I was in New York, and it was a really nice time. When I go to New York, it does mean a lot, because especially when we went to GovBall Festival, to have all the people who came up throughout New York City and stopped me and said, "I love your podcast." 5 or 6 people were listening to the podcast while I walked past them. So that means a lot. And that's also just a super cool feeling for me. And so certainly appreciate all the people saying hi, especially, all the people who acknowledge this podcast and the Ask Nick episodes or in the Bachelor fan. So pretty cool. And that is cool. But yeah, I mean, especially if they're, stuff like that, love the podcast or whatever, the podcast is the key to my heart, obviously. Well, weren't you on that show? Like, I might get pretty awkward pretty fast, but yeah, the podcast is
Viall Files is the end. Take
it's the
note,
key to my
everyone.
heart. Yeah. Yeah. But even then, like, because like when you say hi to a stranger, like, if you're going to hit on them, then you want to stick around. And even then, maybe you might want to just like say hi and get their number. But like, yeah, like I'm trying to be nice, but also trying to go about my day, to do whatever it is I'm doing. It's, listen, it's not meant to not be awkward.
Well, I also think because you're an introvert, like I think being an introvert and then being someone who's like been on TV and those two things, I think it's very easy to read like more like shyness is like, they think they're above me.
Who was I talking about that this week? And someone from the Bachelor world, that like people have like, as we talked about with Susan Collins, like half the population has introverted qualities, right? Like, and I'm a bit of an ambivert, but I've gotten more. I was also talking about this. I've gotten more introverted as a result of being in the public eye. Like, I think it's like heightened my introverted qualities. Or exacerbated them, if that's the word. And yeah, it is harder for introverts to deal I wouldn't say deal, but to interact with a ton of strangers.
Yeah, and to have it like thrust upon you when you're not expecting it,
Yeah.
I imagine is like pretty whack.
It's a challenge, but I'm aware of it, and I work on it. But I can't thank all the people who did say hi in New York over the weekend. There's a couple people that asked their name, and I want to be like, hey, shout out.
Shout out.
Angela. But like, you know who you are if you stop me and you're listening to the podcast. So thank you. We have a great episode for you. Great callers. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castmedia.com. Cast with a K. Got a big week for you this week lined up. Bachelor in Paradise finale on Tuesday. We have a great episode for you on Wednesday with the wonderful Emily DiDonato. You might know her from her modeling career, Victoria Sports Illustrated swimsuit. She's also big into skincare. Just a lovely human. Great perspective on life, her marriage. She's pregnant now. Her skincare routine. I really enjoy talking with Emily, so be sure to check that out on Wednesday. And always appreciate you guys listening. Again, send in those questions at asknick@castme.com. Catch with the K, and let's get to those callers.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
How's it going?
Hi, I'm Kylie and I'm 26.
Hi, Kylie. How can I help?
So I originally wrote in about a on again, off again 3-year situationship that I've been in.
Okay.
And I don't want to dive too much into the details because I could probably talk for days to you about it. But basically, for some context, we've been on and off again from the beginning. And we've never really had the what are we feelings conversation. It was always just more than hooking up, but never got to the point where we would express feelings or anything with each other. And when I say on again, off again, I mean like there'll be like 6 months of talking and 6 months of not talking. And it's not like we ever just fizzled out and stopped communicating. It was very much like an argument would set it off, or jealousy, or other people involved.
On whose part, for the most part?
It was mostly like things he was doing that upset me.
Gotcha.
That would then kind of cause I'm guilty of like the blocking game, or like saying I'm done with you and unfriending. And then months would go by and he would either reach out or I would either unblock him, and kind of we'd get back into the same routine of like not even addressing what had happened and just like going about what we usually do. Our last point of no contact was like January through May. And then he came back in May and reached out. And obviously I answered like I usually do. But at that point, I was kind of getting fed up with the games he was playing. So I tried to kind of have that what are we talk for the first time in like 2.5 years. And I basically was like, okay, how do you feel about me? We've never talked feelings before. Why did you come back? And he basically just pinned the question back on me and was like, I don't know. How do you feel about us? And I straight up said, sometimes I think we would work and sometimes I think we never would. But we've never given it like a real try. We've never been on the same page. And he kind of just brushed it off of like, oh, I just got out of something with someone and I'm not looking to jump into anything serious. So I should have took that as, no, I don't want anything, and I should have stopped talking. But clearly we just kept continuing to do what we always do. So it was actually for the first time like really starting to affect my mental health and like make me more depressed with the games he'll play of going weeks without talking to me, but then accusing me of seeing other guys and getting upset when I wouldn't spend the night with him, saying things like, oh, you don't want to sleep next to me, just like things like that. And it was starting to get to the point where I knew I had to do something because it was not benefiting me at all. So I took notes from your podcast and I sent a very chill text message that was basically like, hey, we can't do this anymore. You don't want commitment and I do, and that's totally fine that you don't, but I don't think we should hang out anymore because I need to move on. And obviously he didn't come running back and saying, no, stay, I love you. But he was basically like, clearly you've made up your mind. Like, I don't know what you want me to say to that. I'm just going with the flow. So I was like, okay, you do you, like, but I don't want to be, in your flow. So I left it as like, hope you find what you're looking for. And we haven't talked since. And that was about like a week and a half ago. So really all of that leads into my question of how do you kick this like they'll always be back mindset that we tell ourselves when we get like rejected, and actually like grow for ourselves and not to try to prove what he's missing or like make him want you back. Like how do you actually grow for yourself? And then number two is, are you an advocate for sending that paragraph explanation to people, or do you think treating with silence sometimes is the best option?
Yeah, first of all, I think as far as you sending that letter, thanks for listening. I think it was a good thing, I guess, when you finally sent that letter of just putting out what you wanted. You stopped asking him what he wanted. You told him, you set a boundary there. The big question for you have to ask yourself, right, is, and I'm glad you acknowledged that you've done the blocking and unblocking,
that's all me.
Some people, like, we talk a lot about obviously boundaries. We've certainly talked a lot about them recently, but we talk about the blocking, and I've said, like, it's not to be used as a tool. Like, you have to be don't block, setting boundaries is, we've been talking a lot about power too. Setting boundaries is a way to kind of invoke your power, to like say, this is where I stand, and, I'm going to defend this position. But when you start using that power as a tool to do other things, as a way to manipulate them, right? Because it's a little bit of manipulation on your part, right? To block and try to get a reaction, get them upset, or say things you don't mean. And you might be doing this because you feel victimized by them, but you become the boy who cried wolf, so to speak. You lose your power because it's just like, when you first block someone might be like, oh my God, they blocked me. Did I do something wrong? And then they unblock you. And then eventually he's just like, oh, she fucking blocks me. And I'll just let her cool off for a few days.
And I do it because I do realize that I'll probably like stalk their social media if I don't. So there's part of me that does do it for my own, mental health. But if you continue to do it and then undo it, it loses its, significance.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, when you sent him this letter, if you sent it, I'm sure there was part of you that, even though you were trying to take my advice and there's a part of you that was just like, maybe this will work, maybe he'll finally realize what he's missing. And, you're human. So I get that. I'm not judging, so like, you just have to try to fight that feeling. How do you fight that feeling? Well, clearly so much of your self-worth is wrapped up in his validation towards you, or how he feels about you, or his willingness or unwillingness to be in the relationship.
Yeah, and I've never done that in the past of like, exes come back all the time, guys come back. I've never taken anyone back, and I've always been fine with it. So I guess like I need to stop telling myself that he has this like power over me, or I can't say no to him, because I've never done it in the past. And like, I just need to like kick that fake power that I think he has over me and realize like,
well, it's not fake power, it's real power, but you are giving him that power. Well, the good news is like, it's real, but you do have control over it. People are always like, what should I give my family, my friend, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, my grandparent a gift? And like, listen, it's from the heart is always the best gift you can possibly give someone. And that's where Storyworth comes in. Give the gift to help loved ones share their stories with their family with provocative questions about their memories and personal lives. I've given this gift to a couple family members, specifically my dad loved it. So you're very sentimental. And what the great part is, you learn just so much about your parents and their lives, and they are coming up with stories they didn't even think to tell, because again, these interesting questions that Storyworth helps provide. Storyworth is a meaningful way to connect with your loved ones with stories in their own words, and there is no shortage of surprises, like I said. After 1 year, Storyworth will compile every story, including photos in a beautiful keepsake book that ships for free. You can order multiple copies for your siblings, children, or other relatives. And like I said, super cool. Did it for my dad, and all the people in my family really cherish it. Storyworth is a meaningful gift you and your family can treasure forever. Get started right away with no shipping required by going to storyworth.com/VIALL. You'll get $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/VIALL for $10 off. You've let him have this power. So there's power there for you.
Yeah.
And then you talk about how like he would get jealous or et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure at some point, as fucked up as that is, and that might even be some sort of manipulation tactic or whatever, and I'm sure all these buzzwords, but what it was in that moment, it made you feel good. He cared. Like a lot of people like it when their partner gets jealous and insecure. You know,
yeah.
I know a lot of men and women who will go out of their way to make their partner jealous just to get a reaction because they're worried that they don't care. So here he is being toxic and accusing you of doing shit you're not doing and maybe even projecting what he's doing onto you, et cetera, et cetera. And instead of you seeing that as fucked up and manipulative and toxic, you're just like, oh, thank God he cares about me.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, you have to see it for what it actually is and beyond, and you're starting to get there. That's the good news. You know, now that you've written this letter and you a year and a half, you have to tell yourself, I know there's a part of me that wants him to call, but I do know that the best thing for me is that he doesn't. In fact, I hope he doesn't call because I know that at least right now, I hope he doesn't call anytime soon. I hope he doesn't call the next week or two or month because I'm worried that I haven't healed yet. I'm worried that I lack the strength to say no to him. And I know I should say no to him. I know he's not good for me. And I know these feelings I feel aren't healthy. They're not love. They're not, oh, we're meant to be. It's not the world bringing us back together. It's me lacking the strength and the confidence in myself and him scratching that wound over and over because it hasn't healed yet. Right?
Yeah.
So you want to tell yourself that you hope he doesn't. Now, if he does reach out in the next 2 or 3 weeks or month before you truly are healed, then the time between now and when he might reach out is that you try to work on, you muster the strength to say no to him. Maybe you do block him now. I mean, the best time to block him right now, or the best time to block him is now, when you've set the boundary and you know you don't want him to reach out. And by blocking him won't allow him to reach out even if he does want to reach out because you're done.
Yeah, you have to put it in like nothing he could say would like fix it, basically.
Yeah, nothing.
So like there's no need to have his number or have him on social media.
If he reached out in the next 3 weeks, all he would be doing is responding to the fact that he can't have you anymore. You know, and then like, and we said this in the last caller too. It'd be, you know, people drag their feet all the time, and sometimes it's justifiable, right? Sometimes we all, you know, especially in today's world, there's so many reasons, and we have access to so much, and we drag our feet. You know, we live in a world where our options are limitless, and there's dating apps, and sometimes it's like, oh, is this the person? I don't know. Like, am I really willing to give it all up for this one person? But that person, if they are going to drag their feet, should have at least it should be very clear. It shouldn't be confusing, you know, but it's all over the map with this guy, you know, and what he just wants is you around. He just wants you available. He just wants, you know, it sounds like power and control, you know, so knowing that accepting that he's not right for you, accepting that all these feelings that you have felt for him are not love or chemistry or romance or, you know, destiny. You just got caught up with a guy who was able to keep scratching a wound that wasn't healed, and that wound, you know, doesn't, you know, you're fine. You just played on it, you know, you just got caught up in it. We've all been caught up in it, and then that's maybe your ego getting caught up in it. You know, the fact that you said I've never had this happen to me before, that's what's fucking you up. You know, maybe you're used to being the one who's ending things or not, like, you know, sweating the small stuff when it comes to a guy. But here you finally met a guy who fucks you up. And so many of us will confuse that as like love or meaningful things. It's like, no, that's the one person you should be running from. Because you're not, like, you at your best self is still setting boundaries with the people you love, holding them accountable with the people you love, like saying no to the people you love, because, you know, we all will take a foot if we're given an inch, even with people we love, you know, and we have to have the strength to be able to still hold those people accountable, and people we are powerless against is not love.
I totally agree.
You're on your way. Just if you were to ask my advice, I would get off the phone and just block him on everything. Block his cell phone number. He should have.
Sometimes I feel like that sets the precedent that he thinks like I can't control myself not to talk to him, and I have to block him.
We don't care what he thinks about you anymore. We don't care if he thinks he has power over you. What we care about is your ability to heal and move on, so that when he does get a hold of you, you can be closer to indifference than being triggered by him.
Yeah.
So we don't care. We're not trying to win a PR contest with him. We don't care who won the breakup. That won't be determined until down the road. People don't win breakups in the moment. People win breakups years from now. You know, 5 years, you look back and be like, yeah, I kind of won that shit.
Yeah.
You know, you don't win in the first couple of weeks just because they like are fucking someone new who you think is hot and that makes you feel. That's not winning. That's just a reaction. So we don't care about any of that. We don't care what he thinks. Let him think what he wants. Let him think that you're doing nothing but crying and pining over him and waiting. It doesn't matter. You're not.
That's great advice.
So I think you should block him, and you should just try to heal. And you know, it's okay if you've ever, have you done therapy ever?
Yeah, I'm currently
great.
So seeing someone.
Work on, you know, what it is about how he makes you feel that's doing this, you know. But it's definitely not romance or love or, you know, or anything that has to do with, he's not special. He's just there. Yeah, he knows how to scratch a scab. He's a scrap picker. Yeah,
thinking of it like that definitely will help in the long run.
You're close. I think you're on your way. Just block him and don't worry about what he's thinking. Don't worry about if he's missing you or wondering about you. Hope that he's not.
I think that's the most important part. Switching that mindset of, I hope he knows how well I'm doing, or I hope he knows I'm fine, to actually, I really don't care.
And so your focus is on, I need to get healed. I need to take care of myself. I need to get myself in a good place, because your goal is to not give a shit about him.
I'll definitely work on that in the next few months, and I'll let you guys know.
All right. Keep us posted. Best of luck. You're going to be great.
Thanks so much, Nick.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. How's it going?
Hi, it's Stephanie, and I'm 36.
Hi, Stephanie. How can I help?
I just got a question kind of concerning my dating life. I've been single for, probably 11 years. I've gone on and off dating with people, but it just seems like I choose the wrong guys, and I don't know how to not do that anymore, I guess. And I don't know if I'm not giving the right guys the chance, but then I keep just going to the dirt bags and giving them chances for whatever reason. So I don't know if you need a little backstory on my life. I don't know.
Sure. I don't know about the whole life, but.
Right. Yeah, no, I essentially have only had one long relationship, like about 3.5 years, but that was back in high school. I had a 2-year on and off relationship with kind of an ex-drug addict. And that was obviously not very good for me. So I don't know if those two things of the first relationship, he ended up cheating on me. So, and then played mind games after the fact with me, just kind of would stay in contact with me and, just insinuate he wanted to get back with me. But then as soon as I'd reach out to him, all of a sudden it's whoa, crazy, just calm yourself. We're not dating anymore. And it's okay. And then of course I move, and then I meet this guy who, well, he was an ex-drug addict, was still a drug addict and stuff. And obviously that it's not a good scenario anyway, because he's a drug addict. And so it's like he mind fucked me literally for 2 years. So telling me how worthless I was, telling me I would never amount to anything, that kind of stuff. So I don't know if those two scenarios have given me.
Because that was 2 ex-drug addicts?
No, just the one. The one, it was just a high school relationship, the
Gotcha.
first one, and he cheated on me. And then the second guy, yeah, that's the second longest relationship, even though it was like on and off for 2 years.
How long ago did the second situation end? Like,
that was probably 11 years ago.
Okay, and then what have you been doing in the past 11 years? Like, it's not.
I've been dating.
Okay.
I tried to give guys chances and stuff. My standards weren't all that high at the end. At the beginning of my dating after this guy, just because I'm like, I just need to make sure that they have a living, they can drive, and they can pay for stuff. Like it wasn't like I had like all these, high standards for anything, but I kept picking like the bad boys, the guys that had problems, because I think maybe I wanted to fix them.
Maybe,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. And so then, then I would kind of, my friends would just be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, these guys are idiots. Like, what are you doing? So, okay, fine. So then I'd keep trying to date people. And I don't know if I keep missing the opportunities for the good guys, because I don't feel like I'm worthy enough for the good guys. But it's like, I don't know. I meet guys and I'm like, oh, these seem like nice people. And then I'll get like confirmation from friends around. They'll be like, oh yeah, he's super nice. He asked about you. He wants to get to know you. And then they turn out to be super weird. Like super weird.
Like what? What do you mean?
Like, so I had an incident recently. I met this guy at a bar, hadn't seen him at all. And so I was like, okay, we kind of not really clicked, but he liked the same kind of things as I did. So I was like, all right, I'll give you my number. If anything comes out of it, it's just, I have a friend, because I have no single friends. They're all married with kids and a family. So I was like, at least then I can have a buddy, or if it went somewhere, great, So I gave him my number, and then it was literally a 2-week hiatus is what this happened. I ended up going on a date with him, pretty much to his house for wine. I got hammered, big deal. So then the next day he was really like needy for me. Like it was really aggressive and just kind of like, dude, relax, man, like whatever. And then he ended up leaving me 2 voicemails later that night, just like, oh, I really like you. You're the greatest thing ever and stuff. And then he dropped the I love you. And I was like, you literally just spent one night with me. So that was kind of weird. So then I addressed it with him. I was like, hey, listen, I'm not used to the affection that you're giving me at the moment. So like, it's new. I don't get guys who are that into me right away. So I don't know how to deal with it. And all his reactions was, well, if you're not feeling it, I guess you're just not feeling it. And that was it. I'm like, all right, I guess. And that was it. And then
how'd that make you feel?
Well, I mean, it was kind of like, I was okay with it, only just because I'm like, if there's no way I could pursue dating him knowing that he's on one end of the spectrum and I'm on the other end. Because then I would feel like I would have to.
Well, that's kind of my point. It's just like, you're right. Your instincts were right. Like, it's not normal to like spend one night with someone and then and within the next week or 2 or day, they're just like profess their love for you.
Yeah.
It's just another like extreme reaction to a situation. And if nothing else, it's an example of someone who's just emotionally immature. A lot of it is, it's probably, my guess is like, you're just having a hard time setting boundaries, and even when you try to set your boundaries, maybe it is the manipulation or abuse you dealt with the first couple guys that make you second guess yourself about the boundaries you're setting, and then you'll feel bad, like, well, I'm not trying to hurt you, I don't mean it, and so like it's again, dating is hard and sucky, and there's a lot of immature, emotionally unavailable people out there, especially men. And I think it's just, finding the confidence in yourself to say, yeah, why would I want to deal with this? That's not normal. I don't want to deal with someone who doesn't have their shit together, whether it's alcoholism. I'm not going to deal with someone who is going to not have an adult conversation with me and communicate with me. It's just perspective. It's looking at it through the lens of, I'm learning quickly about these guys who aren't ready or available for me. And then having the confidence just to move on. you can
Yeah.
get discouraged. It's like, oh, just another fucking shitty guy that I met. Like, and that's, yeah, that's a bummer, using shopping analogies today, but like, yeah, out there and you want to get a shirt, you have an idea of a shirt that you want, and you spend all day shopping at the ball, you just don't find the shirt. You're just like, I was just shopping all day. I bought some shit I don't need. I bought another blue shirt. I got a bunch of blue shirts, but I wanted to find something else, and it can get discouraging.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like
the
that's
trick
where I'm
is
at.
having
And,
the
like, I know-
willpower. Yeah, the trick is not to have the willpower to buy the shirt you already own or you don't need just because you felt like buying something,
Yeah.
but you couldn't find what you were looking for, So you just got to have the willpower not to like, I just want to buy something because like I just have the itch to buy something. No, you have to have the discipline to not buy it and the energy and the time to go back out there and try a different mall or a store. And maybe you have to take a break. Maybe you're a little tired, your feet are sore, a little swollen from walking around all day, but you take breaks and just kind of believe in yourself. And when if you go on one date and someone seems nice, that's bare minimum. And so don't be so quick to like ask your friends, like, is he good? Is he okay? Also, like, where are you shopping, so to speak?
Yeah. See, that's my problem. So because my friends, and I don't blame them at all, they've been in long lasting relationships with, now they got families. So I don't really get out much. So I got a day job and I also work at a bar. And so I meet a lot of my perspectives, I guess, at the bar.
Yeah.
And I've been telling myself lately, just because I'm older, I don't need, the BS. I'm like, I need to stop dating people at the bar.
Yeah.
But, and unfortunately this last one, I met him there, but I hadn't seen him there. So I was like, well, he's not my regular barfly, so that's okay. Right. Like, give him a shot.
Sure. I mean, I don't think you have to like have that be a non-negotiable. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but you don't have to. But I do think you want to expand. Are you on any dating apps?
I've been on literally almost every dating app, and it's always the same people.
Sure.
And it's like, I can see those
Are
people
you
out.
Are you living in like a small town or?
I live just like, it's in like the Chicago area. So like, it's not like it's a small town. It's, there's lots of people
Plenty
around.
of people.
So yeah, so it's not
Yeah.
super bad. It's just, I apparently where I live, they're just a bunch of scumbags. I don't know.
Do what you can,
and
and maybe it's not dating apps, and maybe it's just expand. I don't know how they all work, but like expand the search area. And yeah, I mean, it can get discouraging. But it sounds like you are definitely shopping in the same pond, so to speak, going to the same places, and a combination of, it's attracting the same types of guys, and then the guys you do give a chance to, maybe it's a combination of you just being a little impatient and things like that, you investing in the wrong people, not following your gut, and things like that.
Yeah. And I usually try and follow my gut, and again, no fault to my friends, but they'll be like, well, you really should give this guy a shot. Just give him a shot. What's it going to hurt? They give me that line. So I'm like, but I'm feeling like it's not going to work.
What are the guys they want to give you a shot?
Oh, they don't have any. Like, I did actually have a friend of mine. She set me up with a friend of theirs a couple years ago, and it was okay. And they were just like, it was probably one of my better dating experiences I've had, in the sense that he picked me up, we went to dinner, he paid for dinner, like, we had good conversation. It lasted about a month, but then he got super weird too with the comments he would make, and I had to question my friend. I'm like, what is up with these? Like, what is this? And she's like, I don't know. And she'd ask her husband, because that's whose friend it was. And then the one comment that really just took the cherry on, I was just like, all right, I can't do this. So I ended up letting him know. I'm like, hey, I like you, like, I like spending time with you, but these are the things that are concerning me right now, because I don't know how to, like, I don't know why you're saying all this stuff when I don't need this in my life. Like, he said he got in fights all the time for whatever reason, and obviously I'm not big on that because I bartend, so I don't need you to protect me or anything like that. And then he would comment on like sexual stuff, and it was just like, it was weird. It was just things that like he didn't need to be bringing up from his past. And I was like, next time you go, I mean, he took it well, and I felt good about ending it, but he was a good person. I mean, I think in hindsight now, knowing who he is, I don't think we would have worked out, but it's just like I do get set up, but then it turns out like something like this. And it's just like, is it me? Is it just the guys that I'm set up with? I don't know.
A combination of everything. What is an insecurity you have about your dating life? Like, do you have insecurities about certain guys that you want to give a chance to, but you're too insecure about being rejected? So then maybe you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
do you have some self-limiting beliefs that are stopping you from really expanding your search area?
It's probably more or less that because of that last relationship I was in, it was probably more that I'm not worthy of like the nice guy, like the really good guys that have the good families, that have the good values. I don't think I'm good enough for them.
What do you mean?
think is what
like,
it is.
Okay, like why?
I don't know. I just know like, oh, they're gonna find somebody better or somebody more worthy of them. Even though I know that I got good values, I bring a lot to the table. I'm very, very independent. Like I've obviously been on my own for
yeah. Well,
ever.
that's
So
again, without like getting into your whole life story, you're not in a small town. There's clearly plenty of people out there. Yeah. Are there a lot of shitty prospects all over the place? For sure. Right. And, you know, I go to bars, whatever, but like, yeah, the bar can attract a lot of, you know, people who just, all variety of people that might be bad for you. And my guess is you might have some self-limiting beliefs about yourself and some insecurities about yourself that are stopping you from really expanding your dating pool, so to speak. It's not as small as you might be making it, right? But you are afraid of maybe getting rejected by those guys, right? You're afraid of not being worthy for them. And so you avoid even putting yourself out there, pursuing people that you've already decided inside that you don't have a chance with.
Yeah.
So start shooting your shot with people that you might even think, I don't know, they'll never like me. Because right now it's just like you're spending a lot of time rejecting a lot of shitty options. And start getting rejected by some good options, because we all get rejected.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a reflection of you. Like, it's just a matter of chemistry and finding someone. So I think you just, you know, and maybe there's some therapy that, you know, you could dive into and peel back those layers, you know. We don't have enough time to try to do that, but my gut tells me there's something there, because there are good guys out there, and you're an attractive person with a good personality. There's plenty of good guys worthy of you who will like you, but you do have to be willing to put yourself out there and be rejected by some of those guys for you to be able to find what you're looking for, because you're not going to find it in the pond that you're fishing or the mall that you're whatever the analogy is.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's my guess of your situation, and it might just take some time to just address your insecurities and face them head on. You know, therapy is a great option to do that and figure that out, and then really be honest with yourself about where you are looking for these guys, and are you really expanding your circle, or are you just trying to avoid guys that, it's not a nice guy thing. It's just guys that you think they would never date me.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So try to, you know, challenge yourself. And you're gonna get rejected, and that's okay. We've all been rejected, you know, a lot of times. If people are really honest, I don't care who they are, or what they look like, or what their job is. If they're aiming high, they're gonna get rejected, and you should be aiming high when it comes to your love life.
Okay. Well, that was a nice thing that you said, because a lot of people tell me I'm too picky, or my standards are too, you know, they're like, you're expecting too much. And I'm like, well, I've been single a long time. Of course I'm expecting too much, because not too much. I'm just expecting a lot because I give a lot. So I want somebody just to have the same hustle.
Yeah. I wonder if you're just playing it so too safe, and then being picky with the very safe pool that you're shopping with. It's like you're going to the same, you know, mini mall over and over and be like, I don't like anything here. You're like, yeah, we get it. Yeah. These are the stores.
Like, here, take your pick or don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right.
go to Beverly Hills and maybe you'll find a sale and be shocked that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't shop at
Oh, I
Beverly Hills,
got you.
But
No,
all right.
that's okay. All right.
All right. Well, best
I
of luck.
appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
How's it going?
Hey, it's good. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
My name is Janice. I'm 21.
Hi, Janice. How can I help?
I'm a huge fan, by the way.
Oh.
I've had multiple dreams where I'm stranded somewhere and you come and you give me advice.
Great.
So this is really great.
Very meta. Yeah. Well, let's see if I can actually be helpful.
So I have been seeing someone for the past 8 months. I'm 21. The guy is 28.
Okay.
When I started seeing him, I was 20. He's about to turn 29. So there's a bit of an issue there. I'm not seeing him anymore. I had a lot of issues in the case that I just listened to your last week episode where you're talking about defining gaslighting and the Instagram post you saw and how that was irritating you. That's something that I've been looking at a lot because I'm trying to define it. I feel like I was being gaslighted and emotionally manipulated for the past 8 months. And it's something that is really staying with me. So me and this guy have a lot of mutual friends. I've not heard from them in the past 3 weeks.
The older guy you're no longer seeing, you're trying to figure out if you were being gaslit.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what happened because I feel very terrible after the situation.
You feel terrible
I'm
about
just
it.
I feel terrible about it.
Okay. Why?
I heard from him. Basically, there are just multiple situations in which he would talk down to me, make me question my sanity, use our age difference as a way to discredit my experiences or my stories. And this is just a repetitive thing he would do.
Okay. I mean, again, like that sounds very condescending, not necessarily gaslighting. And I think it's very common for people, especially if there's an age, like in your case, right? You were 20, you're 21. And when people are of that kind of age, you know, not always, but sometimes, like when you're 20, you were 2 years removed from high school, right? And I don't know your life or your experiences in high school or how quickly you matured, you know, whatever. But for the average person, you know, it's pretty typical life, lived at home, went to college or not college or whatever. And nowadays we kind of leave the nest later in life. You know, it's not like years ago you got kicked out, you kind of fended for yourself, you grew up pretty fast. I think we're maturing in general a little slowly or whatever. And so then you date someone who's, you know, he was what, 28, 27 years old. That's not a huge age difference, but like it's an age difference for sure. And this age difference, he's, you know, as a young man, you know, I didn't really feel like I matured until I was like 29, 30, but I don't know him, right? But he's had some life experience and he's probably feeling pretty good about it, right? And he's made some mistakes. And he's made some mistakes.
Loves himself.
Yeah, and so here he is dating someone he likes, and half the time he probably might even have been thinking, "Oh, hey, babe, let me like, nah, like you. I mean, you don't know this because like you know you haven't experienced like I have, and I think it's just very easy to be condescending, and it's not an excuse. I think we don't even realize we're condescending. I think that's part of growing up. I mean, I've had to recognize how I can be condescending or how I've been condescending. And it was right around that age time where I was I was finally like living some life experience and I was healing from my mistakes and my trauma. So I want, you know, and that's a challenge. And again, if you're in a relationship with someone like that, like you were, that can get very discouraging and just being like exhausting. And again, makes you feel like less than, and it makes you feel, and it's all just really condescending. You know?
I wish it was justified because we weren't even in a relationship.
Okay. So, but how did you find yourself invested in a situationship that you now say wasn't even a relationship? Because you were part of that decision.
Yeah. So where I'm at right now is that I have no contact with our mutual friends anymore.
Okay.
They have all like reassured him and been like, you've done nothing wrong, like you're
Him.
good. And my friends, yeah, they've reassured him. I heard from him like a couple of days ago. So they've all reassured him. With my friends, they're all like, this guy is such a fucking dick. Like, don't go back to him. He gaslighted you. He did this, etc. And I'm just like, how can there be so completely like polar opposite sides to the spectrum?
Yeah.
And I just don't
Because they're your friends.
understand.
And they got your back. You know, do you watch Sex and the City? Like Carrie's like all
I love Sex and the
They all have each other's back and they're all just toxic animals. There's just toxic people making bad decisions. And rightfully so. They're having each other's backs because they're friends. You know? They're all like, Carrie, Big sucks and blah, 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 blah. And like, I'm not defending Big, but Carrie was a big part of that problem. Right? But they're not, you know, and only Miranda finally had the guts. And, you know, anyway, I could go on and on. But yeah, they're your friends. They're supposed to have your back. You know? That's what friends are for. You know?
I think I completely agree. I'm someone that's really big on accountability.
Okay.
So, and this is a man that like refuses to take accountability. He was like, I'm sorry, like I hurt you.
Accountability for what? You're going to have to give me some specifics here because like
yeah, I know. There's
being
just so
condescending
much, like,
in and of itself is not gaslighting. And I don't know if he gaslit you or not, but I do know condescending is not by itself gaslighting.
Okay, let me give some context. Okay. So this guy is like 28, about to turn 29.
Okay.
I'm currently a university student. He works at the company that owns my campus.
Okay.
So that's like interesting. We had to keep it down low. We kind of had a friends with benefits situation. I met him because I'm friends with a lot of the people that live at his apartment. So I met him at a gathering. I was seeing someone at the time, but it wasn't exclusive. So like me and him, like we're just drinking and then like we had a hookup, etc. Didn't think about it. And then I just felt weird about it because I didn't know him. And I was like, oh, this is a guy who's much older than me. Maybe he is like, this is a thing he does with younger women, like, etc. So then I was seeing someone else that ended after a month. And then it kind of became a rebound thing for 4 months. So that kind of became the situation. Okay, so this situation, there's something that happened in the first month that we were involved in January of this year. So we had both been drinking. He gets very like angry drunk, and that's kind of triggering for me because of my past.
Yeah.
And it really sucks. It's really shitty.
Angry drunk's the worst. I choose not, if I see angry drunk, that's a non-negotiable for me. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
so that's been a thing for me as well. So he had gotten in a fight with his roommates, and he's very ego heavy. He's accomplished a lot, etc. And it didn't bother me at first because I'm like, oh, this is a guy that's accomplished a lot, so it's not going to bother me. But then it comes out more when he's angry drunk. So he was angry drunk.
Wait, hold on. Just pause for a second. Like his accomplishments in life, you feel are a justification for him having an uncontrollable ego? It might be.
That's what I thought.
It might be an explanation, but it's not a justification.
Yeah. That's what I have this thing with like making excuses for people because I'm too open-minded.
Okay.
And I realize that's not a thing now. So he was very like angry drunk. He got in a fight with his flatmates. Like someone like threw a glass. I was like, I'm gonna leave. So I left. And then one of the flatmates called me back because like they needed like support and I'm friends with his flatmates. So then I came back, consoled the flatmate, and then he was just there. And I went like to stay with him for the night. I don't know why I did that because he was so angry drunk and we had like a hookup. And next time I saw him, we were having like wine and talking. I still went back. Next time I saw him, we were having wine and we were talking. And it basically came out that like I was upset from that situation. And I was just trying to tell him I was uncomfortable. I've had similar experiences in the past. Like, I don't like being around you drunk. And he was like, well, I don't want to be with someone that isn't comfortable like being around me when I'm drunk. Like, I love getting drunk. So I don't want to be around someone that isn't down to be around me when I'm drunk.
I think it's a really weird boundary that he's trying to set. And it's a fairly toxic boundary he's trying to set. I wouldn't call that gaslighting, but I would call it shitty. And a huge red flag for you to like leave the situation. You know?
Yeah, there's one of many.
Well, sure. But I guess so ultimately you seem to have a hard time accepting things. And you say like, you said earlier, like you're big on accountability. But you're big on accountability for other people. And you're not holding yourself accountable for getting yourself or staying in situations where the red flags are so obvious. Like you're clearly an intelligent person, you're introspective, you seem like you have this desire to be self-aware, and yet you're like, oh my God, I went back, like whatever. And like, you know it. You don't need me to tell you shouldn't, you know. And you're not holding yourself accountable for those choices. And yet you're so bent out of shape of this guy, what? Like saying was wrong or sorry or he didn't do it perfectly. I mean, he's literally telling you that he wants to date someone who's okay with his bullshit. And he has the right to say that. And that's crazy for anyone to like say yes to like an angry, like I want to be angry and I want to be drunk and I want someone to love me for it. Like he could say that till he's blue in the face. And good for him for putting it out there. And just being like, this is who I am. I'm an angry drunk who wants to be loved. That's actually honest. And you were like, okay, maybe. I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why did you even entertain it? You're not holding yourself accountable for not listening to people's red flags that they're just waving in your face.
That is true. I fully agree with that. I think for me as a person, it's really important for me to say my piece, and for that person like to even like listen to it, like retain that information, and then whatever happens after, like that's fine. Or that's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah, I don't buy that last part.
Yeah.
I think you like to be heard, and then you need a verification that you were heard. And that last part you often don't get, and you have a hard time accepting that.
Yeah, that's true. I would say that's a good read. So where I'm at right now is basically I didn't talk to him for 3 weeks. This entire thing like really spiraled. This has been going on from January up until now. Like me and him were talking all of summer, etc. And basically what had happened was I realized that a good majority of our conversations were him telling me everything I'm doing wrong, that I need to fix about myself, that I get too hurt by the things he says, that he's just joking and I can't take jokes. So basically I had a very close family friend pass away a couple weeks ago. Thanks. And I got very upset about it. So I called him and he talked me through it. And then he decides to like bring up an argument with me. And he was just like, oh, like, and I was like, oh, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about like this double date we're going on. And then he was like, oh, you said about like this is what I get so mad about. And then I was like, what? And then he was like, no, we'll talk about it later because you're upset. And I was just like, well, you already brought it up, so we might as well talk about it. He's like, no, you're upset. Like, I like hate when you do this. Like, we'll talk about it later. And I was like, no, let's just talk about it now. And then it goes off like 2 hours of us talking. I'm like sobbing, like uncontrollably. And this man is just talking.
What's clear to me is that you guys shouldn't be dating. Sounds like he's a very immature guy who has some growing up to do. And you guys aren't compatible. And I think also you have some self-reflection and holding yourself accountable for paying attention to the red flags people are showing you and not be so stubborn. I think you're a little stubborn, like a little bit.
Yeah.
And you need to trust yourself. Like, again, you'll be fine. Like, you, at the risk, I apologize for sounding condescending, you are younger. And it's okay to get a lot of this wrong. I got all this wrong so many times, over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And that's part of like figuring it out. but you are smart. Like, you're introspective. You're a young person thinking about these things. He is, 29? Hasn't thought about this stuff at all. Probably doesn't listen to one of my podcasts. You know what I'm saying? This is all like news to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're years ahead of this guy, right?
Yeah.
But now that you are accumulating the tools of learning this stuff, you got to use those tools. And those tools are saying no to the red flags. Like, there's not getting what you are calling closure. That's not, you don't need closure. You need to be right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to be validated. You don't need a closure. The closure is knowing that this guy is not your guy. And anytime you hang out with him, it is going to turn into a fight. It's going to turn into a disagreement. Your feelings might get hurt. You might hurt his feelings. Either way, it's generally going to be toxic and messy. And it is not just all his fault. You know, it's a big part of his fault.
No,
I
know it's my fault as well.
Because that example you gave, you were upset. Someone passed away. He said something stupid. Then he was like, "I don't know. You're right." Sorry. And then you're like, and then you insisted. You could have been like, "Yeah," and you could have just left that, been frustrated with him for not being sensitive and not being empathetic that you lost. Like, you had all the cards. Like, he was unempathetic. He was selfish and self-centered about bringing something up that he had no place of bringing up. Instead of just being like, that was real dickish, another reason why I should invest in this guy, you chose to have a 2-hour fight with him.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I just think coming from him, it came off a bit harsh because he was not like, I did this wrong. He was just like, this is everything you did wrong. And this is how you should fix it.
He sucks, especially for you. I'm not defending him. I'm not talking to him. I don't have him here. He's not on the phone. This isn't couples therapy. I'm just talking to you. And I'm just trying to be like, you're wasting a lot of energy trying to fix a problem that you shouldn't even waste your time on. And you're trying to invest in someone you're, by your own admission, aren't even in a relationship with.
Yeah.
And this is a ton of energy that you're investing in someone not worthy of your time and energy. And it's not even your boyfriend. But a lot of lessons can be learned, and you can grow from this, and you can get better at holding yourself accountable. And so when you meet another guy, and you can communicate better, or learn to like walk away much faster before you get emotionally invested. Because the problem is, and I'm being hard on you, but like the problem is like you are emotionally invested in this guy. You might not be your boyfriend, but you're invested. Like you're like, you've been hanging out with him long enough, and you're just, and so you just don't know how to cut your losses.
Yeah.
And you need to learn how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like way too emotionally invested with like everyone in my life. But
no, part of this is your ego though. You like being right.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a huge ego based off of his huge ego.
No. You can't blame him for your ego. No. That's some shit he would do to you. That sounds like him.
Yeah,
the way you're
that's
describing it, be like, you know what? It's your fault I have an ego. Like, what the fuck is that?
No. That's true. But yeah, so I haven't talked to him for like 3 weeks. I got a call from him a couple of days ago, and he's basically like, okay, because our mutual friend, I reached out to our mutual friend, and I reached out to her, and I was like, why haven't I heard from you? And she was just like, from what I heard that you said he gaslighted you and emotionally manipulated you, and those are very strong terms, and I think you're lying, and if you're telling the truth, I don't want to be around someone that can use those terms lightly. And I was like, I'm not using them lightly. There are a lot of situations that have added up, etc. So I got a call from him a couple minutes after that phone call. I don't have his number saved, so I thought it was like my coffee. Picked it up. It was him. I was like, great. And he was just like, hey, I just got done with a conversation with our mutual friend, and I'm confused. Like, I thought this was just a misunderstanding. And his basic thing was, he went on for another 2 hours, and I let him. That was just my fault. But his basic saying was like, if you just talk to me about what bothered you, I would fix it and adjust it. So you can't associate these accusatory terms. But I was literally reading the definition of these terms and being like, you have done this. This is what you have done.
Yeah, was it a post on Instagram that said, if, you know what I'm saying? Like, we gave the example in the episode you referenced last week, where it's just like coughing doesn't mean you have COVID, you know?
Yeah.
And questioning you and saying, well, I didn't say that. Doesn't mean he's, you know, like it could be, you guys clearly are not listening to either each other. You're not communicating.
Yep.
Like, and no, and I'm not defending it. Like, you haven't given me one example where I'm like, that's clearly gaslighting. And maybe he has, and clearly I haven't been a part of every conversation. What it sounds like is him waving a bunch of red flags, and I'm sure he's been manipulative. I'm sure you have too. I mean, again, being manipulative can be as simple. We all bent out of shape about like, and sometimes it's playful. You're dating someone. We've all been in a situation like this. Like, babe, can you make me toast? And you're like, I don't know, I just don't feel like doing it. But like, you make it so good. Like, I love how you make toast. That's manipulative. You know, you're trying to get your partner to make you fucking toast, and you're being lazy, and you want them to make you toast.
I like need to know if I'm doing something wrong. If it was wrong for me to use those terms, like, when is it right to use those terms? Because it feels like we're in like this society that everyone's trying to label everything and distinguish
right.
every
I don't
specific situation.
We were all doing a decent job of standing up for ourselves before we ever watched the play Gaslighting. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you could just say that wasn't cool, or I didn't like that you said that, and I feel like you're manipulating me, and we didn't need to like call it gaslighting. And again, like, I'm not an expert in gaslighting. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a therapist. And, you know, when we had Dr. Selleman come explain it to me, and she, like, again, referenced the play, we learned that it's not even the diagnosis manual. You don't go to therapy and they're not diagnosing you as a gaslighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so we're so, like, I just don't know why what's clear and what should be comforting to you is that he is toxic and you shouldn't be investing any more time in him. And that's such a great answer to find. And do you need it? Like, what, and did you, like, I don't know, whatever. And you could say, like, listen, maybe you weren't, I don't know, I'm not an expert in gaslighting. Either way, I don't like how you made me feel about myself. I don't like how I felt around you. I didn't, feel like I was by myself. And either way, I just think it's best we don't talk anymore. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you're a great partner to the people you date in the future. I'm going to work on myself. You know, like, why can't you just say something like that?
I feel like, okay, so if I did, like, do something wrong by telling him, like, he gaslighted me and emotionally manipulated me, and he basically said what you're saying.
I'm sure he emotionally manipulated you at some point. I'm sure.
So do I have to take accountability for the fact that I was wrong to use those terms? Like, do I have to do that?
I don't know. What do you think? I just don't, again, I'm not like, I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. It just seems like, wait, he said all those things? What do you mean? Like, he said all those things, like, we're not right for each other?
So he was just like, oh, like, rather than using these terms, you could have easily told me, like, this is what upset you, and I would have worked on it. And I told him that he didn't create an environment for me to be able to feel comfortable for me to do that.
That's a great, that's great to say that. That was awesome that you said that. Yeah. And again, what you two, I mean, maybe he's stubborn too. We've established that you're stubborn. I haven't talked to him, but like what you guys haven't agreed on is that you should just stop trying to make this work. You know, you don't see eye to eye. You guys don't have to, you can agree to disagree. You can just be like, listen, I don't know. What if I get his point, and what I think you're trying to say that he said is that, and like I said on the last episode, I don't, like, again, this is not like in the diagnosis manual type of thing. It is literally a term that we're like a society has adapted as a way to kind of describe a feeling or a very specific, and in the play, it was a very specific thing of this guy trying to very kind of systematically had a plan. He had a goal in mind. He was trying to get something from her. I'm not an expert in gaslighting. It's not in the diagnosis manual. It's something that our society has adopted from a play. And my problem with it, as I mentioned last week, and kind of his point is, we have attached it as a form of abuse. We are loosely adopting various phrases and terms of examples of what could be gaslighting, and then We are diagnosing people as friends or as partners, and it has a very serious meaning behind it. Like, people hear the word gaslighting and they think abuser. And I don't know if this guy, he sounds immature, manipulative, shitty, condescending, and he has a lot of growing up to do. And I'm not excusing any of that. But like, I don't know why. I don't know. You don't need to know he was gaslighting, and whether you said he was or told someone else. I think you should just stop talking to the guy. He's bringing out the worst in you. And,
that is true.
And back to my original point, you have to hold yourself accountable to like your desire to be right and be heard. And again, you like, it sounds like you're also like empathetic here. You don't, you're like, well, I don't want to label him. I get that, but I don't think you guys have to agree on this. You said he was like, you're not the first one who said someone was gaslighting you. I don't think you committed a crime here. Like, that's the problem. We're all doing this.
They're making me feel like I haven't heard from any of our mutual friends. I've kind of been iced out.
So you're saying because you accuse him as a gaslighter, his friends are taking this accusation very serious. And now you're being labeled as like a boy who cried
someone
wolf,
who
like
like that,
like falsely accusing someone of abuse.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem.
So I've been iced out.
That's the problem with this gaslighting thing that's going on, is that
I know
we all want like, and I think you should have ended it a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a lot of things wrong, it sounds like. And you just kept ignoring this red flag, and you just kept talking to him, and you kept, and the way you're describing it sounds like a really immature guy who's even sounds like he's trying to get it right, maybe really bad about it. And that's not, if he called in, I would be like, maybe you should get some therapy and get some mentors and talk to some people who aren't going about this. And again, like, you have a right to want to be loved for being an angry drunk, but I wouldn't expect a lot of people to be pretty excited about that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you're describing two people who are really bad at listening to one another, who both want to be right, who both have egos, who are both stubborn. And, you know, I'm getting your story, and if he called in, I'm sure I'd get another story, and you guys both shouldn't be hanging out with each other.
Yeah, so that's what my friends say too. I haven't reached out to him or anything, but yes, it does like play on my mind a lot. Like, he was the one that reached out to me after 3 weeks, and that was like because he wanted clarity, etc. So I'm basically iced out of that friend group. He has left the door open for me to talk to him if I need to. I have not opened that door.
And this friend group that you're iced out of, are they your friends?
So they were I got to know him through his friends. I was friends with his friends first. And they're all in a much older age group.
But they're not your core group of friends.
No.
Okay. I don't think you need to be talking to them. I just think for your best interest, you should not be talking to them. And these friends, and like, yeah, tough lesson. And again, who knows? I don't know if he did or didn't. It doesn't sound like, whatever. I'm sure a lot of people listening might disagree, but it seems unclear, but it seems very clear that yes, there was a lot of toxicity, a lot of manipulation. He didn't make you feel like you were your best self. He didn't, you know, and you should remove yourself from that situation. And now maybe the lesson you can learn is like, maybe the word gaslighting doesn't even need to be in your vocabulary, because you can defend yourself and set your own boundaries and stand up for yourself and know when you're being manipulated and walk away from toxic situations and pay attention to the red flags that are waving in your face without ever bringing up that word. And at the risk of someone accusing you of labeling someone as abuser, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can still set all the boundaries so that you're respected and know when to walk away from toxic situations before ever like saying gaslighter.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right.
No, because, yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I'll take that and just leave the situation.
I think you definitely should leave the situation. And just, you know, if I don't think you should talk to him at all. That's what I think. I think if I even suggest anything, you'll run with it. I think you should not talk to him.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with that.
And these friends you've been iced out of, I don't think you got friends. You don't need them. They were going to fade out to the darkness anyways.
Yeah, that's what my therapist says too.
There you
go. I think that's probably right.
All right. Well, thank you for calling again. Can't thank all our callers enough. Thanks for listening. Always appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to send those questions at asknick@castmedia.com. Cast with a K for Ask Nick episodes. Tune in tomorrow for our Bachelor in Paradise finale recap and Emily DiDonato on Wednesday. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos like our Tuesday Bachelor recaps and Wednesday celebrity and expert interviews. See you next time.